Those who do not accumulate and are wise regarding food, whose object is the void, unconditioned freedom. Their track cannot be traced, like that of birds in the air. He whose outflows are destroyed and who is not attached to food, whose object is the void, the unconditioned freedom. His path cannot be traced, like that of birds in the air. Even the gods hold dear the wise one, whose senses are subdued, like horses well trained by a charioteer, whose pride is destroyed, and who is free from the outflows. There is no more worldly existence for the wise one, who like the earth resents nothing, who is firm as a high pillar, and as pure as a deep pool, free from mud. Calm is his thought, calm his speech, and calm his deed, who truly knowing, is wholly freed, perfectly tranquil and wise. Inspiring indeed is that place where Arahants dwell, be it a village, a forest, a vale, or a hill. Inspiring are the forests, in which worldlings find no pleasure. There the passionless will rejoice, for they seek no sensual pleasures. That was the Arahanta Varga. The thousands. Better than 1,000 useless verses is one useful verse, hearing which one attains peace. Better than reciting 100 meaningless verses is a reciting of one verse of Dharma, hearing which one attains peace. Though one may conquer 1,000 times 1,000 men in battle, yet he indeed is the noblest victor who conquers himself. Self-conquest is far better than the conquest of others. Not even a god, an angel, Mara or Brahma can turn into defeat the victory of a person who was self-subdued and never restrained in conduct. Better it is to live one day, virtuous and wise and meditative, than to live 100 years, foolish, immoral, and uncontrolled. Better it is to live one day seeing the deathless, than to live 100 years without ever seeing the deathless. Because there are 3 things that give no satiation by indulging in them: sleep, liquor, and intercourse. Established in virtuous behavior, restrained in the sense faculties, moderate in eating, intent on wakefulness, a bhikkhu dwells thus ardently, unwearying by day and night, developing wholesome qualities to attain security from bondage. A bhikkhu who delights in heedfulness, seeing the danger in heedlessness, is incapable of decline. He is close to Nibbana. Not apart from awakening and austerity, not apart from sense restraint, Not apart from relinquishing all do I see safety for living beings. Endowed with this noble restraint of the sense faculties, he is inwardly sensitive to the pleasure of being blameless and free. Samyutta Nikaya 217. Sutta Nipada 211, Rahula Sutta. Having let go of 5 sense desires and forms that are dear, delighting in the mind, with faith renounce the whole household life. Be one who ends dukkha. Keep company with noble friends. Dwell in a lonely practice place. Secluded, having little noise, with food be moderate. Robes as well as food for alms, with shelter also remedies. For these things form no craving, so return not to the world again. By training rules stay restrained, and by the 5 sense faculties practice bodily mindfulness to be dispassionate. Avoid those objects beautiful which may be linked with lust. On the unlovely, one-pointed, well-concentrated grow the mind. Develop then the signless state, with tendency to pride let go. By fully understanding it, truly as peaceful you will fare. Therigatha 6.5. When a person lives heedlessly, craving grows in them like a parasitic creeper. They jump from life to life like a monkey greedy for fruit. Whoever is beaten by this wretched craving, this attachment to this world, their sorrows grow like grass in the rain. But whoever prevails over this wretched craving, so hard to get over in this world, their sorrows fall from them like a drop from a lotus leaf. I say to you, good people, dig up the root of craving as you dig up the grass and search for roots. Don't let Mara break you again and again. Act on the Buddha's words. Don't let the moment pass you by. If you miss your moment, you will grieve. Negligence is a toxin. Negligence is included as a toxin. Through diligence and knowledge, pluck out the dart yourself. From yourself. Whether walking or standing, whether sitting or lying down, one who overcomes these thoughts of the household life finds delight in stilling the mind. Such a monk may well attain enlightenment, the supreme goal. Controlled when walking, controlled when standing, controlled when sitting and lying down, controlled when drawing in the limbs, controlled when stretching out the limbs, above, across and below, as far as the world extends. A monk observes how things occur, how aggregates endure. When one lives thus ardently, calm and quiet in demeanor, ever mindful, training oneself in the practice of calming the mind, they call such a monk ever resolute. Angulimala, who once did live in negligence, and then is negligent no more, he illuminates the world, like the moon freed from a cloud. Who checks the evil deeds he did, by doing wholesome deeds instead. He illuminates the world, like the moon freed from a cloud. The youthful bhikkhu who devotes his efforts to the Buddha's teachings, he illuminates the world, like the moon freed from a cloud. Conduit makers guide the water, fletchers straighten out the arrow, carpenters straighten out the timber, but the wise seek to tame themselves. Do not give way to negligence, nor seek delight in sensual pleasures, but meditate with diligence so as to reach the perfect bliss. Leading to liberation, crossing over, drying up the root of craving, cutting off the root of poison, the slaughterhouse, and leading to Nibbana, very sweet, very deep, preventing birth and death, leading to the stilling of suffering, bliss. It is the eightfold noble path. Yearning for craving's destruction, heedful, intelligent, learned, and mindful, having comprehended the Dharma, fixed in destiny, vigorous in striving, one should live alone like a rhinoceros. Like a lion unalarmed among sounds, like the wind not caught in a net, untainted like a lotus by water, one should live alone like a rhinoceros. Peril, suffering, and disease, a boil, a tie, and a swamp, these describe the sensual pleasures to which the worldling is attached. Having seen the peril in clinging, as the origin of birth and death, being liberated by non-clinging, is the extinction of birth and death. Those happy ones have attained security. They have reached Nibbana in this very life. Having overcome all enmity and peril, they have transcended all suffering. Taragata 14.2. Those who are filled with understanding, as the ocean is with water, don't look down on others. This is the noble Dharma regarding living beings. They stand like a royal pillar, neither elated nor downcast, not to gain or loss, not to praise or blame, not to suffering or happiness, unconquered everywhere. There's principled loss and there's unprincipled gain. Principled loss is better than unprincipled gain. There's the fame of the unintelligent and there's the disrepute of the discerning. Disrepute of the discerning is better than the fame of the unintelligent. There's praise by fools and criticism by the discerning. Criticism by the discerning is better than praise by fools. There's the happiness of sensual pleasures, and there's the suffering of seclusion. The suffering of seclusion is better than the happiness of sensual pleasures. There's a life without principles, and there's death with principles. Death with principles is better than life without principles. Having developed the factors of awakening, the spiritual faculties and the powers, have attained ultimate peace, Nibbana, without defilements. Taragata 131. Pestered by flies and mosquitoes in the wilds, the formidable forest one should mindfully endure, like an elephant at the head of the battle. I'll swap old age for the unaging, burning for extinguishment, the ultimate peace, the supreme sanctuary. Seeking happiness, they find it through this practice. They get a good reputation and grow in fame. Those who develop the direct route, the Noble Eightfold Path, for realizing the deathless. Learning is good. Living well is good. The homeless life is always good. Questions on the meaning, actions that are skillful. This is the ascetic life for one who has nothing. Like they're struck by a sword, like their head was on fire, a mendicant should go forth mindfully to give up sensual desire. Mum, they weep for the dead, or for one who's alive but disappeared. I'm alive and you can see me, so Mum, why do you weep for me? Though a fine thoroughbred may stumble, it soon stands firm again. Even so is one accomplished in vision, a disciple of the Buddha. Samyutta Nikaya 2295. Form is like a lump of foam, feeling like a water bubble. Perception is like a mirage. Volitions like a plantain trunk, and consciousness like an illusion, so explained the kinsman of the sun. However one may ponder it and carefully investigate it, it appears but hollow and void when one views it carefully. It is taught to be a murderer. Here no substance can be found. Yearning for the imperishable state, let him fare as with head ablaze. He should discard all the fetters and make a refuge for himself. Five aggregates subject to clinging are destabilizing, unsettling, disintegrating, undesirable, a disease, a tumor, alien, empty, not self. They are hot embers not to be clung to. Attending thus is suitable for all levels of awakening. Samyutta Nikaya 1252. If you contemplate gratification in things to be clung to, craving increases. With craving as condition, clinging, existence, birth, aging, death, thus fueling the great bonfire. When one contemplates danger in things that can be clung to, craving ceases. With cessation of craving comes cessation of clinging, existence, birth, aging, death, thus extinguishing the great bonfire. Udana 6.2. One should not strive anywhere. One should not be another's man. One should not live depending on another. One should not make a business of Dharma. Udana 8.8. Those who have 100 loved ones have 100 sorrows. Those who have 90 loved ones have 90 sorrows. Those who have 5 loved ones have 5 sorrows. Those who have 4 loved ones have 4 sorrows. Those who have 3 loved ones have 3 sorrows. Those who have 2 loved ones have 2 sorrows. Those who have 1 loved one has 1 sorrow, but those who have no loved ones have no sorrow. These alone, I say, are without sorrows, without suffering, without desperation. Consider how many people die every day. Would you ever be without sorrow if they were all held to be as dear as a loved one? Not seeing family when in Sri Lanka or when at home is the same. You're not missing out on them. There is no idyllic life with them. Only souring and taking them for granted. By bones and sinew knit, with flesh and tissue smeared, and hidden by the skin, the body does not appear as it really is. The fool thinks it beautiful, his ignorance misguiding him. They penetrate the subtle truth as the tip of a hair with an arrow, who see the 5 aggregates as alien, and do not regard them as self. Those who see conditioned things as alien as not self have pierced right through the subtle truth, as the tip of the hair with an arrow. Majjhima Nikaya 2. Taints to be abandoned by seeing those things fit for and unfit for attention. Sensual desire, the taint of being and ignorance. Apply right effort with Four Noble Truths as a reference. By restraining and reflecting wisely, he restrains the eye to avoid vexation. He restrains the ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. By using the requisites and reflecting wisely upon them, the robe and food, resting place, medicinal requisites, cautious of attachment, they will come and go. Taints to endure when reflecting wisely upon cold and heat, hunger, thirst, mosquitoes, wind, sun, creeping things, ill-spoken words, and unwholesome words directed towards him. He endures all the elements. By avoiding animals, cliffs, sewers, women, bad friends, or to avoid vexation. By removing, he does not tolerate sensual desire, ill will, or cruelty. He abandons it, removes it, does away with it, and obliterates it. By developing the 7 awakening factors, supported by seclusion, dispassion, cessation, ripening in relinquishment. Dwelling thus with the restraint of all the taints, he has severed craving, flung off the fetters, and with the complete penetration of conceit, he has made an end to suffering. Taragata 146. I went forth out of faith from the lay life to homelessness. My mindfulness and wisdom have grown. My mind is serene. Make whatever illusions you want. It doesn't bother me. 1.50. The rain falls and the wind blows on Mother Earth while lightning flashes across the sky. But my thoughts are stilled. My mind is serene. My little hut is pleasing, delightful, a gift given in faith, of no need of girls. Go, ladies, to those in need. One who sees those who don't, who see and those who don't. One who doesn't see, sees neither. (169) Hearing the sweet Dharma taught by the Master of universal understanding and superior knowledge, I've entered the path to realize the deathless. He is the expert on the road to sanctuary. 1.70 Ethical conduct is best in this life, but one with wisdom is supreme. One with both virtue and wisdom is victorious among men and gods. 0.71 For one who sees the goal so very subtle and fine, who is skilled in thought and humble in matter, who has cultivated mature ethics, it is not hard to gain extinguishment. 1.79 All my lust is given up, all my hate is eradicated, all my delusion is gone, I'm cooled, extinguished. One is one's own protector, one is one's own refuge. Therefore one should control oneself, even as a trader controls a noble steed. That monk who while young devotes himself to the teaching of the Buddha illuminates this world like the moon freed from a cloud. Brahmanavaga, Dhammapada. Exert yourself, O holy man, cut off the stream of craving and discards sense desires, knowing the destruction of Sankaranam, become Brahman, the knower of Nibbana. He who does no evil deed, word, and thought, who is restrained in these three ways, him do I call a holy man. The person who wears a robe made out of rags, who is lean with veins showing all over the body, and who meditates alone in the forest, him I call a holy man. He who, having cut off all fetters, trembles no more, who has overcome all attachment and is emancipated, him I call a holy man. He who without resentment endures abuse, beating and punishment, whose power, real might is patience, him I call a holy man. Like water on a lotus leaf, or a mustard seed on the point of a needle, he who does not cling to sensual pleasures, him do I call a holy man. He who has profound knowledge, who is wise, skilled in discerning the right or wrong path, and has reached the highest goal, him do I call a holy man. He who holds aloof from householders and ascetics alike, and wanders about with no fixed abode, and with few wants, him I call a holy man. He who has renounced violence towards all living beings, weak or strong, who neither kills nor causes others to kill, him I call a holy man. He who is friendly amidst the hostile, peaceful amidst the violent, and unattached amidst the attached, him do I call a holy man. He whose lust and hatred, pride and hypocrisy have fallen off like a mustard seed from the point of a needle, him do I call a holy man. He who wants nothing of either this world or the next, who is desire-free and emancipated, he who has no attachment, who through perfect knowledge is free from doubts and has plunged into the deathless, him do I call a holy man. He who in this world has transcended the ties of both merit and demerit, who is sorrowless, stainless and pure, him do I call a holy man. He who, having abandoned sensual pleasures, has renounced the household life and become a homeless one, has destroyed both sensual desire and continued existence, him do I call a holy man. Anguttara Nikaya 5, 215. Bhikkhus, there are these 5 benefits of patience. One is pleasing and agreeable to many people. One does not have an abundance of enmity. One does not have an abundance of faults. One dies unconfused, and after death one is reborn in a good destination, in heaven. Anguttara Nikaya 661. Having understood both ends, the wise one does not stick in the middle. I call him a great man. He has transcended the seamstress. Contact, friends, is one end. The arising of contact is the second end. The cessation of contact is in the middle, and craving is the seamstress. The craving sows one to the production of this or that state of existence. Past is one end, future is the second end, present is in the middle, and craving is the seamstress. Name is one end, form is the second end, consciousness is in the middle, and craving is the seamstress. 6 internal spaces are one end, 6 external bases are the second end. Consciousness is in the middle, and craving is the seamstress. Anguttara Nikaya 4, 117. Bhikkhus, one bent on his own welfare should practice heedfulness, mindfulness, and guarding of the mind in 4 instances. What for? 1. May my mind not become excited by things that provoke lust. 2. May my mind not be full of hate towards things that provoke hatred. 3. May my mind not be deluded by things that cause delusion. And 4. May my mind not be intoxicated by things that intoxicate. Youth, health, life, wealth, birth, gain, honor, respect, beauty, learning. It's all bullshit. And Anguttara Nikaya 4.181, the warrior, virtuous bhikkhu. Skilled in places, he is virtuous. The bhikkhu who is a long-distance shooter, 5 aggregates past, present, and future, he sees as not mine. This I am not. This is not myself. Sharpshooter, understanding as it really is. This is suffering. This is the origin of suffering. This is cessation. This is the path. And one who splits a great body, splits this mass of ignorance, is worthy of hospitality, offering salutation, and a field of merit for the world. Groundwork for the destruction of the taints. 471. Virtuous, learned, energetic, wise, with renunciation, goodwill, non-harming, and right view. Anguttara Nikaya 10.56, perceptions culminating in the deathless. Perception of unattractiveness, perception of death, perception of repulsiveness of food, perception of non-delight in the entire world, perception of anicca, perception of dukkha in the anicca, perception of anatta in what is dukkha, perception of abandoning, perception of dispassion, perception of cessation. Develop and cultivate them for great fruit and great benefit, culminating in the deathless. Therigatha 9.1. Old age and death are suffering, yet an ignorant ordinary person is bound to them. When an astute person fully understands this, and they are mindful, protecting their composure, there is no greater pleasure than this. When clinging, the carrier of suffering, and craving, the carrier of this painful massive proliferation, are destroyed, and one is mindful, practicing composure, there is no greater pleasure than this. When the Eightfold Path, so full of grace, the supreme path, cleanser of all corruptions, is seen with wisdom, practicing composure, there is no greater pleasure than this. Samyutta Nikaya 38.16. Friend Sariputta, what is difficult to do in this Dharma and discipline? Going forth, friend, is difficult to do in this Dharma and discipline. What, friend, is difficult to do by one who has gone forth? To find delight, friend, is difficult to do by one who has gone forth. What, friend, is difficult to do by one who has found delight? Practice in accordance with the Dharma, friend, is hard to do by one who has found delight. But, friend, if a bhikkhu is practicing in accordance with the Dharma, would it take him long to become an arahant? Not long, friend. Samyutta Nikaya 12.69, the surge. Bhikkhus, the ocean surging causes the rivers to surge. The rivers surging causes the streams to surge. The stream surging causes the lakes to surge. The lakes surging cause the pools to surge. So too, ignorance causes volitional formations to surge. Volitional formations surging causes consciousness to surge. Consciousness surging causes mind and matter to surge. Mind and matter surging causes the six sense bases to surge. The six sense bases surging causes contact to surge. Contact surging causes feeling to surge. Feeling surging causes craving to surge. Craving surging causes upadana to surge. Upadana surging causes existence to surge. Existence surging causes birth to surge. Birth surging causes aging and death to surge. Dhammapada, the just. One is not wise because one speaks much. He who is peaceful, friendly and fearless is called wise. A monk is not an elder because his head is grey. He is but ripe in age, and he is called one grown old in vain. One in whom there is truthfulness, virtue, inoffensiveness, restraint and self-mastery, who is free from defilements and is wise, he is truly called an elder. Not by shaven head does a man who is undisciplined and untruthful become a monk. How can he who is full of desire and greed be a monk? He who fully subdues evil, both small and great, is called a monk, because he has overcome all evil. Magavaga. Of all the paths, the Eightfold Path is the best. Of all the truths, the Four Noble Truths are the best. Of all things, passionlessness is the best. Of men, the Seeing One is the best. This is the only path. There is none other for the purification of insight. Tread this path, and you will bewilder Mara. Impurity. Make an island for yourself. Strive hard and become wise. Rid of impurities and cleansed of stain, you shall enter the celestial abode of the noble ones. Non-repetition is the bane of scriptures. Neglect is the bane of a home. Slovenliness is the bane of personal appearance, and heedlessness is the bane of a god. There is no fire like lust. There is no grip like hatred. There is no net like delusion. There is no river like craving. He who seeks another's faults, who is ever censorious, his cankers grow. He is far from the destruction of the outflows. Tergata 2.7 and 2.9. Just as rain seeps into a poorly roofed house, lust seeps into an undeveloped mind. Just as rain doesn't seep into a well-roofed house, lust doesn't seep into a well-developed mind. Sages sleep happily when they're not bound to women, for the truth is hard to find among them, and one must always be guarded. Sensual pleasure, you've been slain. We're not in your debt any more. Now we go to quenching, where there is no sorrow. 2.15. People are attached to people. People depend on people. People are hurt by people. And people hurt people. So what's the point of people, or those born of people? Go, abandon these people who've hurt so many people. 2.23. As a monk, mindful and wise, empowered and full of energy, I recollected 500 eons in a single night, developing the 4 kinds of mindfulness meditation The 7 factors of awakening and the Eightfold Path are recollected 500 eons in a single night. 1.4. Associate only with the virtuous, the astute ones who see the goal. The wise ones, diligent and discerning, realize the goal, so great and profound, hard to see, subtle and fine. Calm and quiet, thoughtful in counsel and stable, he shakes off bad qualities as the wind shakes leaves off a tree. Once hard to tame, now tamed himself. Clever, content, with doubt overcome, victorious since his fears have vanished. Dabba is steadfast and has become extinguished. 1.6. The monk who went to Sitawana in solitary, content and serene, victorious with goosebumps vanished, guarding mindfulness of the body, resolute. He has swept away the army of the king of death, as a great flood, a fragile bridge of reeds, victorious since his fears have vanished, tamed and steadfast, he has become extinguished. In Gutta Nikaya 9.11, Sariputta's lions roar after a false accusation of violence. With a mind that is vast, exalted, measureless, without enmity or ill will, dwell with a mind like the earth, not repelled or humiliated by insults, praise or blame. Dwell with a mind like water, like fire running through impure things, like air, like a humble outcast boy, like a well-tamed bull, disgusted at the body, just as a clean young person would be disgusted with an animal carcass slung around their neck, like a cracked bowl that oozes liquid fat and drips. This cracked body oozes and drips. A seeker of peace should drop the world's bait. In Gutta Nikaya 8.30, 8 thoughts of a great man, for he who lives contented. This Dharma is for one with few desires, and does not want to be known as such. This Dharma is for one who is content, but does not need to be known as such. For one who resorts in solitude, and doesn't need to be known as such. For one who is energetic, and doesn't need to be known as such. For one with mindfulness established, yet doesn't need to be known as such. For one who is composed, but does not need to be known as such. For one who is wise, but does not need to be known as such. And for one who delights in non-proliferation. Contemplate them for jhana practice, secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unwholesome states, with rapture and pleasure born of seclusion. Dwelling contentedly, your scraps of alms food will be seen as a dish perfect of the most delicious rice and curry, serving you for entering upon Nibbana. Dwelling contentedly, the foot of a tree will be seen as a house with peaked roof. Your seat, made of straw, will seem to you as a couch spread with rugs, antelope hide, and canopy above, for you who live contentedly.